Some car news here today, Dave. I was surprised to see this, that attorneys general in 17 different states want the federal government to recall millions of Kia and Hyundai cars.
Good.
Let him finish.
Oh, is that done?
I don't think you've heard the...
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I wasn't expecting that. It was like the guy the other day on Put Up or Shut Up Rock and Roll Trivia who passed when I was only a quarter of the way through the question. I mean, like less than... That was Thursday.
Hilarious.
It was the blankety blank song that opened for the big pass. Forget it.
But there's more.
There's more to this, too, Dave. There's more to this now.
I say buy American.
I know you do, and I like that. I like that about you. Attorneys general in 17 states want the federal government to recall millions of Kia and Hyundai vehicles because they're so easy to steal. That is what all of these attorneys general are saying. They're blaming South Korean automakers for failing to install standard anti-theft features. And California's Attorney General, Rob Bonta, is pushing it all the way to the Congress of the United States and asking that they...
I know you're not a big fan, Kelly, of follow-ups, but what sort of standard anti-theft measures would a Toyota or a Ford have that Kias and Hyundais don't?
I'm going to mark it down to follow up. I don't know. I'm not sure. Again, I drive a vehicle that has no anti-theft devices.
Yeah, but nobody wants to steal your
Nobody
car.
wants
Just its outer shell.
That's right.
And hideous interior.
I don't know. At one point it was because they had keys and not fobs.
Is that what it's about?
No, I don't know. I don't know Hyundai. I don't know anything about Hyundai.
But those were the cars that people were breaking into using TikTok tips last year.
Is that what it is?
They're the easiest.
Right. Same thing.
It's still you can hotwire it with like an iPhone charger.
You can hotwire it.
And that's what's happening
With an iPhone
with an
charger.
iPhone charger.
Yeah, they figured out you can basically
Oh,
hotwire it.
You know why I remember this story? Because I couldn't think of the term for USB cord, and you wouldn't help me when I said, it's that cord, and you just sat there mute, smiling at me. And you remember that moment? I remember that moment very well.
Vaguely?
I remember that. I remember that very, very well.
Now, it could have been when Biggie's heart was collapsing on itself.
In fact, but he had this little grin on his face because I said...
Are you sure it was not a grin and not a grimace?
Maybe he was grimacing. It's possible. All right, well, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. But don't think I don't remember that.
But that's what's still happening.
USB cords? Okay.
That's why the U.S. They're basically saying it should not be so easy to do this.
That's right.
And it's happening all the time. It my girlfriend, a friend of hers, their car.
Kia? Stolen.
Hotwired.
Is that part of the reason they don't have these features, that their prices are more
lower,
reasonable?
I don't think so. I mean, it sounds
it's just a flaw.
Yeah, it sounds to me like this. Who would have thought? Let me take my iPhone charger.
No one.
And see if I can. And then bam, it's everywhere. With
Hot
TikTok,
wire.
it's everywhere.
This is the Attorney General of California.
The bottom line is Hyundai and Kia, they made choices that have led to numerous thefts that have harmed not only owners whose cars have been stolen, but leaving others in a state of constant risk. Hyundai and Kia have left us no choice but to call on the federal government to either order a mandatory recall or work with the companies to institute a voluntary recall of the affected vehicles.
Apparently, it's all
What
the
are the
newer-
raw numbers again?
The newer ones. The numbers are there are 17 states wanting it, and these cars are stolen at 10 times the rate of other cars.
But how many cars would need to be recalled?
It said millions. It said millions and millions of cars.
They're everywhere.
To be recalled. And
BB Shea drives one.
He does? I never know what anybody.
You don't know what anybody
I never know what
drives.
anybody drives. Chris Tim sometimes will say, "Who's driving that?" I don't know.
You don't know.
Who's driving
You
that
don't know.
SUV? I have no
You don't pay
idea.
attention
I
to
don't
stuff
pay
like that?
any
Somebody
attention.
got a Tesla.
What? I don't know. I never know that.
Yeah.
Somebody has to tell me who got a brand new car. This is the police chief from Berkeley, California. Says she deals with it all the time.
This alarming increase led our strategic analysis team to take a look at what was driving this theft and how that was spreading among our community. What we discovered was social media influences setting a challenge was giving people the information on how to easily steal these vehicles.
That's what Biggie was saying. Was,
Yeah.
Social media influences and challenges on stealing Hyundais and Kias, and therefore they're calling for a recall. If I was Hyundai or Kia, I think I would say, all right, from this point forward, we're going to make it harder to steal. But I can't imagine recalling all those millions of cars.
I don't see it happening.
I don't either.
Nobody knows where they are. They've been stolen.
Yeah.
Try to recall them.
Can it be forced? Can the American government, can Congress force a private company to recall something like that?
Well, has this ever happened
question.
in the past? I mean, where a car brand has been stolen more than others? And I mean, even back before all the digital stuff, there are cars out there that have been stolen more than others. Yeah, like
Well, they used to say the
Corvettes
Honda Accord. The Honda Accord was the most stolen.
Because
right?
its parts fit into other cars more easily.
Yeah.
that was in the 80s and 90s. But the government would never.
No.
It was always the car maker.
Yeah.
right.
But not to this degree, apparently. This is the most stolen car. I can't believe how many of these are stolen versus other cars.
Well, Kia and Hyundai are going to want to fix it because nobody's going to buy their cars.
I would fix it going forward for sure. I mean, if the news becomes bigger, you're right. I mean, who's going to buy that if it's so easy to steal and there's a challenge to go and steal?
Exactly. You own a Kia dealership and you show up in the morning at the lot and they're all gone.
I mean,
No inventory.
it's that easy.
Yeah.
They're that easy to steal. The person who is fixing potholes in his own neighborhood is the former governor of California. A lot of California government here, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Apparently, there have been 2 potholes spotted in his neighborhood for some time. He said he's been calling the city for months on end to try to get him to fix it. They never did.
Does he live in Hollywood? Does he live in a
He does.
different city?
He lives in Hollywood. And when he was out on the street literally fixing the pothole,
Yeah, saw him.
several cars drove by and thanked him for doing his work. And he said, look, the time just finally came. I had to do it.
You know, this hole, or these 2 holes have been here for over a month. And we have been complaining to the city and been making them aware of it. And they have not responded. If they want me to fix more, I fix more. It makes no difference to me. This is all part of it.
This is what I do. I fix things. I go out and I do it. And that's what he did.
I did see 2 follow-ups on this. One, it is illegal to fill in a pothole
Correct.
in the state of California on yourself.
That's right.
On your own.
Yeah.
And 2, that was a utility ditch.
Correct. It was not an actual pothole. It was a utility ditch.
Well,
However, it was left. It was supposed to have been fixed a month ago.
yeah.
But he did fill it in with tar, and he did a very nice. His technique was good, and he said, "I'll do more if you want me to."
Yeah, but those are the ones that always... Didn't somebody do that before and they collapsed because people don't know how to do it? You and I don't know how to fill in a pothole.
I
Or
guess.
make the mix to fill it with.
Yeah, you don't have the proper tools.
What if you can Google that? The proper mix to fill in a pothole if you want to do it in your
I'm sure you
neighborhood.
could Google it, but I don't think... you have to have
It may be
the right temperature, the right...
industrial grade stuff that they put in there to mix it with.
That asphalt.
Yeah.
Maybe. Buddy, you're talking about the cars being stolen so much. Kia and Hyundai here during this car report. Go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, good morning, all. From what I gather, it's an insurance issue, too. A lot of insurance companies are denying insurance on those cars. We had a friend who just bought a Hyundai, and their insurance company wasn't going to insure that smaller SUV. I can't recall the name. So they went and bought the bigger one, the Palisade, because their insurance wasn't going to cover the smaller one.
It's gotten to that big a deal.
Wow.
They're being stolen so much that insurance companies will not cover them. That's stunning. Mm-hmm. I bet they wind up at least trying to do some temporary fix. I mean, if it's getting to this, like you said, nobody's going to buy them.
No.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. Casey, you wanted to comment on Arnold Schwarzenegger filling in the pothole in his own neighborhood. Casey, go ahead.
Hey, good morning. I was just making a comment that, in fairness to the city, how many of those times that he called did they think it was a prank call because it sounded like Arnold on the other line?
Everybody,
There's a
tries,
pothole in front of my house. Ha ha.
everybody can do Arnold. All right.
Right.
I'm serious. I will get my own
point.
asphalt
Okay,
and make
good
the
enough.
tarmac.
Fair point.
This is ridiculous.
Fair point. City can't be blamed for everything around here, you know. And since they've had so much rain that they're
He
not
says
used
he
to
was the governor.
right. You'd be interested in this, Dave. You know, there was so much rain in California that there usually is not. That
Yeah.
there are 20,000 potholes that need to be fixed across Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And they're backed up. They can't do it. I read that people were Googling in California, what is a thunderstorm? Because there were so many. There were so many that they were Googling, what is a thunderstorm? They haven't seen rain in years.
It doesn't rain in Southern California.
And then it rained forever for like 2 months. They got a ton of rain there. Anytime we hear something from Arnold Schwarzenegger, I like to play this. Someone, again, with artificial intelligence, put Arnold Schwarzenegger in Titanic playing the part of Rose.
Jack, I want you to draw me like one of your French girls. Wearing this. All right. Wearing only this.
That's my favorite thing. I just love that. It's my favorite thing. Here's more vehicle news. A school bus driver in Castle Rock, Colorado, is facing 30 counts of child abuse after he did something we heard about on this program 20 years ago. A woman famously called us once. We were talking about buses and being a bus driver. And she said what she liked to do every once in a while when the kids were unruly is just say, time for a brake check, and hit her brakes fairly hard, just mash them pretty hard, sending the kids flying forward into the seat in front of them. And that would usually straighten them up a little bit. And she thought it was pretty funny.
Weren't cameras on the buses then?
Yes,
there are now.
Brake check.
Everyone.
Brake check. Well, he did it. Apparently, these kids, anywhere from kindergarten to 6th grade, on the way home from school in Colorado, were all over the place. They were running up and down the aisle. He's a substitute bus driver, by the way, not the regular guy. And they were out of their seats, and he kept telling them to get back in their seats. And finally, he said he had had enough. And as he was coming to a stoplight, he was going 9 miles per hour. He hit the brakes hard, and some of them went forward into the seat in front of them. This is the actual video of it.
You guys need to be in your seats. You guys want to see how dangerous that is?
There it is. There he threw him forward.
Do you get that? That's why you need to be in your seat. Turn around and sit down properly. If you guys can't do that, you will get written up. Do you get that?
Why did you do that?
They sound like little ones.
They're for anywhere from kindergarten to 6th. And he, by the way, told them when he said, you want to see how dangerous this is? You guys need to get in your seat. Nobody moved. When he said, get in your seat, no, none of them
bus
moved.
driver, yeah.
None of them moved. So he let one little girl off at the bus stop where her mother was waiting, and she, as she got off, said, he hurt me. He hurt my neck.
Uh-oh.
And so the bus driver had to explain.
So I'm sorry if she got hurt, but there was 60 kids on here bouncing all over the place, and I'm a substitute driver, and the driver that normally does not have any control on these kids. So I was trying to get them to get in their seats. I had them on the microphone. I said they need to be in their seats. I was coming to a stop, and I hit the brakes hard because they were not listening. So I'm sorry if she got hurt.
All right.
Oof.
He's trying to teach them a lesson, and they got
All on tape. And a confession.
All on tape. All there. And then one mom said,
my son came tearing through the door that afternoon. He sprinted all the way home. He was out of breath and red-faced and absolutely sobbing and shaking. He was terrified. He was terrified because they went quickly from 9 miles an hour down to nothing as they came to a stop.
He's in trouble.
He's 30 counts of, what did they say? Child abuse. Child abuse for 30 counts of that. Eddie, you wanted to comment on this brake check story. Go ahead.
Yeah, when I was growing up, whenever we'd get in our driveway, my brother and I would take our seatbelts off immediately. And we have about a quarter-mile-long driveway. It's a gravel driveway. But so we're going down the driveway, and he and I are fighting. He's in the front seat. I'm in the back. There may have been a booger flicked. I'm not sure. But my mom got extremely mad and slammed on the brakes.
Mm-hmm.
And this is before airbags. And he hit the front dash. And he immediately started, like, holding it and whining and complaining. And my mom was like, you're fine, you're fine. Mm-hmm. So we get home, and he's still complaining all day. And he's like, you broke my collarbone. Mm-hmm. And she's like, finally she takes him to the emergency room. She's like, you better have a broken arm. Well, he had a broken collarbone.
Oh, he did have a broken. Oh, she literally slammed on brakes that hard that she broke his collarbone.
Well, he's very skinny.
I don't think you can.
Even still.
All right, he's skinny and she broke his collarbone. Yeah, back in the old days, you slap.
He didn't have the shoulder strap.
Right. No, yeah, he doesn't have any kind of strap. Thank you, Eddie. Yes, this guy, they're looking into it, but he's been charged with 30 counts And the news said these images are difficult to watch, but I didn't find them that difficult to watch. I mean, they did hit their heads. They did go forward into the seat.
Are the backs of seats padded now, bus seats? I think they are.
I think they are, too.
They're padded.
But yeah, there are no seatbelts.
No seatbelts.
You've been in school buses.
Oh, yeah. There's never been a seatbelt.
After hours.
Well, sometimes you can pry them open.
I don't know. It didn't. I wasn't.
I thought you said these seats recline. No, baby.
Come on, sugar. Well, I mean, and the images are awful, but it's and what if I was a parent, I'd be really pissed off. But at the same time, I get it.
I wouldn't be pissed off, and I didn't think the images were that awful.
I didn't think the images were horribly awful. The ones, maybe there were some in the back. I only saw the front.
Me too. And they just they went for, it's like it's like if a dog ran out in front and he slammed on brakes.
I mean,
from 9 miles an hour to nothing.
Yeah, 9.
9. It wasn't 90 to nothing. It was 9 to nothing. I thought.
There's damn cameras.
I thought too big a deal was made of it, and I don't think he should be charged with 30 counts of child abuse. I think maybe he should be removed of his duties.
I mean, that mom said that one kid ran all the way home. It's like, well, he's healthy enough to run.
That's what I thought. I really did.
Neck don't hurt that bad.
I just didn't think there was any problem with it at all. Jim, well, I would say he shouldn't do it.
But if you're a parent,
he shouldn't do it.
And your kid's on the bus. If you're a parent and your kid's not on the bus, he's like,
if my kid didn't get hurt. And none of these kids got hurt. None of them were hurt. They one of them claimed, my neck or I went into the front thing. I just didn't think it was that big a deal. Yeah. Jim, you're talking about the brake check. Go ahead.
Yes. Hey, I'm started out as a school bus driver, retired from the school system, working with buses. I call BS. Most of those kids probably never had a parent say anything hard to them or an adult in their life. They all been mollycoddled and. I had a bus accident one time. Girl claimed she was injured. Police officer told her, he said, if I call an ambulance, we take you to the hospital and you're not injured. He said, you're going to be charged with something. He said, I don't have time for this. They're mollycoddled. They weren't hurt. They weren't. They need to learn to obey the rules.
Yeah, that's what he did. Yeah, I know. That's how I felt. I looked at it and I was like, they're not hurt. They're not hurt.
They're 8 years old.
I hate to be the adult in the room, but he is the adult on the bus. I mean, if he can't handle the job, then don't do the job.
Well, he's a substitute.
I understand.
And what is he supposed to do? What I mean, he told them. He told them time and time again.
Stop and stand up and look at him and say, "Look, we're not moving till you
sit down. Till you sit down."
I'm sure there's thousands of pages or hundreds of pages of protocols.
I'm sure there are. Michael, you're talking about the brake check. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, when I grew up as a kid, we had a bus driver do the same thing to us, and I mean, we learned our lesson. We set our butt down, and we didn't get up anymore.
Yeah, that's the whole. That's what most people say. Especially people our age, they look at it and go, "What is that?" I mean, so what? You get a little quick lesson, something you should have been taught. Nobody got hurt, and that's
when
it.
I was a kid, if you lost one,
so what?
Just part of it.
Thank you, Michael. Appreciate it. Danny used to drive a bus and can speak to this. Danny, go ahead.
All right. I drove the bus, and I had bad kids. And I knew who they were, and when I stopped to pick them up, I had took the windshield washer, and I aimed them at the front door. So when I stopped the bus, I would kind of take my time, open the door, and I would squirt
them. That's next level stuff there.
Do that today, see what happens.
That's good.
When? How long ago did you do this?
Friday.
Let's see. That was 87.
Okay, right. Okay, that's
the olden days.
Now, if that happened today, I think a kid would say, they're squirting me with fluids from the bus, and that bus driver would be in serious trouble. You can't do that. Thank you, Danny.
Always claim ignorance. They fixed it wrong at the shop.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
How the bus barn.
I don't know what. I don't know what happened. Most people, I read some comments below that had the exact same comments that our callers are having.
Lighten up.
Teach them a little lesson. Lighten up. I don't know. I don't think he should be facing 30 counts of child abuse. I think maybe he should probably be removed of that position.
He'll probably get removed, and I bet the abuse charges get dropped.
Maybe. Boy, the television and the mom there, she said, she was so upset. Her child came running in screaming.
Well, in the moment.
When did the
in the moment, right?
When did buses get the microphone, the intercom? We never had that. We just had buses, drivers turn around and holler.
Us too.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, these
family kids.
Yeah, these little these little pussified kids can't handle a little break.
The mollycoddle.
The mollycoddle children can't handle a little brake check out here.